The AFC South is turning out to be highly more competitive than we all initially thought, as the Colts and the Jaguars are facing off in this Week 6 matchup. Both teams are 3-2. It's going to be a phenomenal matchup here. One of the things, just a media story going into it, Anthony Richardson seems like it is almost a definite he is not playing this week after straining his AC joint.
He's already listed as out for the injury report. Yeah.
So, and this is what's funny too. And this is what happens with a lot of teams where, like, when they have this exciting rookie quarterback, but you go get that veteran backup for situations like this. I remember it was like this with Miami with Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua's rookie year. Gardner Minshew ceiling is much lower, obviously, with the Colts offense and the potential, but he does provide a level of consistency where you're like, hey, we've seen them be successful. As of right now, I know he didn't start last week, but he came in after Anthony Richardson got hurt and had a really good game against the Tennessee Titans, able to lead them to a victory, beat the Baltimore Ravens as well. So I kind of want to toss it over to you here. Both these teams have played already. It was a tough Week 1 matchup, and Week 1, anything can happen. What are some of the expectations for both these teams coming into this Week 6 matchup?
Well, one of the things for the Colts that I think is kind of bad news is the Colts, they ran the ball really, really well last week against the Tennessee Titans, and I don't think that's going to be the case for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are going to make Gardner Minshew and the Colts beat them in the air. They're only giving up 81, 82 yards a game. That has to be top 5 in the league. I'm just looking at the numbers, not necessarily where they rank. And so that has to be top 5 in the league right now through 5 games. Whereas the Colts, they're giving up about 400 yards of offense. And one of the things for me, the Jags, I think, found a groove last week in London. I know they're coming back, so we'll see how that kind of fares for them. But they did seem to find a groove in London last week. They were able to put up some more points on the Bills defense than the Miami Dolphins were a week before. So it's just, I think it's going to be a hard-fought matchup. For the Colts to come out ahead, I do think they have to find a way to run the football. This is one of the best run defenses in the league, but the Colts, they have to solve that puzzle, I think, for them to really stand a chance. And the Jaguars, I think they just need to come out and kind of do what they did in Week 1. And while it wasn't pretty, they ended up putting up more points than the Colts at the end of the day, and kind of at the end of the game made the Colts have to throw the ball just by getting ahead and playing good run defense. So,
well, and that's something as well to kind of build on that is in Week 1, of course, as I mentioned, it's Week 1, really anything can happen. The Colts' top rusher from that Week 1 matchup will be out because it was Anthony Richardson for 10 carries for 40 yards. Deion Jackson had 13 carries for 14 yards. Jake Funk had 2 carries for 10 yards. They had 65 total yards of rushing offense throughout that game. Now, of course, that Zach Moss has really come on strong. Jonathan Taylor is back as well. So there are other characters. But in general, though, I agree with you as well. They're going to have to solve they're going to have to figure out the run. But at the same time, though, too, Jacksonville is giving up 4th most in passing yards per game. Mm-hmm. And the Colts, on the flip side, let me figure this out here. The Colts are not one of the top offensive passing leagues in the game. Well, they have over 1,000 passing yards so far in the season, putting that at 14th overall.
So an average passing game.
An average passing game. Which actually, I'm surprised that through 5 games, just over 1,000 yards puts you in the middle of the road. I'm actually kind of surprised by that. I figured it would be more in today's NFL. But yeah, so just average against a Jacksonville team that can give up a lot of passing yards. And so that's just where, to me, I look at it. I think it's just a bad matchup for the Colts, just in general. The Jags, offensively, they can spread it out, have this West Coast style offense. And there's a couple of guys that we got to watch. Zay Jones hasn't played the past couple of weeks. I also believe as well, who was it that got hit in the head? Was it Calvin Ridley that got hit? He got banged up, but he came back into the game.
Zay Jones is questionable on the injury report. It doesn't say with what.
I thought there was somebody that had a concussion. And so I'll look that up here in a second. But in general, though, still the three-headed monster of Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram has just been a lot for teams to try and solve. And then with Travis Etienne also in the backfield as well. It's just a lot. It's just a lot of great personnel for defenses to have to try and figure out how to cover. So, and that's why I just think for a Colts team, it's just a bad matchup. But we talked about the Colts a lot. Jacksonville, on the flip side, what do you think Jacksonville has to go and do?
For me, this is going to sound stupid, but they have to score more points than the Colts. and just make the Colts kind of have to play from behind, I think, in the end. And when they can do that, then Trayvon Walker and pass rusher crew can pin their ears back and get after Gardner Minshew. And they can really drop 7 back into coverage and make those windows really tight on Minshew. So that for me is kind of what the Jags have to do. I think the Colts are going to struggle to run the ball in this game, especially since last time they played, their leading rusher was Anthony Richardson, who, granted, I haven't gone back and like really watched the tape on that game, but they, for lack of a better word, probably weren't like organized run plays. They were more probably a couple scrambles that went for bigger, like 10 to 15-yard gains that made up the summation of that. So that's just an educated guess, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments there. So let's get into our predictions here. Who do you think comes out ahead in this matchup?
So what I'm looking at here now while you were speaking there is Indianapolis has not won a game in Jacksonville, and if I'm reading this correctly, since 2014.
Yeah.
And I think that trend is going to continue as well. I like Gardner Minshew just when it comes to consistency of this offense and just the overall style of play. I think there's a ceiling to this team offensively, and you want to have Anthony Richardson kind of go through those growing pains. So I hope he gets recovered quickly. But I think this game will be a little bit closer because of that. But also, too, I think it really puts it in perspective on the type of game plan that the Colts have to play. And it has to be kind of a grinded out, kind of nasty, smash mouth type game. While the Jags, though, I feel are going to be able to counteract that with their West Coast style offense. And at the same time, they're going to be able to stop the run, forcing Gardner Minshew to make more throws, have to get closer to 300 passing yards for them to kind of exploit this defense. And I just don't see that scenario playing out. I'm going to go with Jacksonville in this one. I think it's going to be something similar than the week 1 score. I think it's going to be something probably like 28-17 Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm going to go Jacksonville as well. The Colts just struggle down there. I don't know what it was from I forget who their head coach was. Who's the guy that got cancer when Andrew Luck was there? I can picture his face. Yeah, Chuck Pagano, all the way up into what was the guy that just got fired? Frank
Wright.
Frank Wright. And so like all the way up through that, they have just struggled down there. And I don't know what it is, but I think those struggles continue. I'm going to go with Jacksonville. I'm going to say 31-14. I just think that Jacksonville will find a way to put up points early, and the Colts are going to struggle to really get any offense going when they have to play from behind that much. So
I honestly thought you were going to say 31-21, and I would have been like, real original there, Ryan.
Is that the
the score?
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm going to say 31-14. I just think the Colts struggle to keep pace, and especially after they have to start throwing the ball a lot more. It'll be interesting. So we're both going with the Jags on this one. Let's go ahead and wrap this game up here. If you have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out in this AFC South matchup. Is it going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Indianapolis Colts? Other than that, we will see you guys next time.